Hey guys, welcome to Horticulture Geek. I'm Ray, and thanks for joining me today. This is a special introduction to this video. The introduction I made at Gibbs Gardens did not turn out very well, and so now that I'm in editing mode, I'm making you a new intro. But this video is a tour of Gibbs Gardens in Georgia. Gibbs Gardens is about an hour north of Atlanta on the upper part of Georgia, right below Tennessee. And it is a garden comprised of over 300 acres. Over 200 of them are landscaped. It is a fantastic, privately owned garden created by Jim Gibbs, who is the founder of Gibbs Landscape Company, who does landscaping projects all over Georgia and Atlanta. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this video as we walk around Gibbs Gardens and check it out, and I point out some things that I hope you find interesting. Here we go. Welcome to Gibbs Gardens. So we're at one of the waterlily gardens here at Gibbs Gardens, and I wanted to point out how the water lilies are grown here. If you'll look across the pond, they are all perfectly placed around the pond. They are in pots. Water lilies can be invasive, so it is a better idea to keep them in pots. And we'll zoom in on a couple of them. You can see the pots under the water. This does two things. One, it allows you to contain the lilies, but two, it allows you ease of access for maintenance. So those water lilies that are cold sensitive can be easily pulled out of the ponds during cold times in the winter and stored in greenhouses. And two, it allows you to, the other part of that is it allows you to get into fertilizer. So you know exactly where the root systems are. You can put fertilizer cubes into each individual pot or basket, as opposed to doing a general broadcast over the pond and hoping for the best. So they really have a good system in place here to bring all these beautiful lilies to life every year. So here you can see the basket under the water. You can make this one out a little bit under there too. One of the nicest features here at Gibbs Gardens is the bridge you see behind me. And what's interesting about this bridge is it may look familiar to a lot of people, is because this is actually an exact representation of the bridge from Monet's famous painting, Waterlily. When Monet painted that, he actually studied a bridge and a waterlily pond and painted that. And when Jim Gibbs created this garden, he went and studied that exact bridge, took its exact measurements, and recreated it here on the property in his ponds. One of the next areas that I want to look at here at Gibbs Gardens is his extensive collection of roses in the rose garden. One of the best things, in my opinion, that he has done here is he has taken the formality of a rose garden and put it in his garden in an informal way. So while he has maintained the formal structures and rows of roses, he has broken those rows and groupings up into drifts and plantings that provide an informal edge. So it's really interesting to walk through and find new pockets of roses, new varieties to look at from bed to bed, but it still maintains a formal edge. So we'll walk through and show some of these. Another neat thing to point out while we're here in the rose garden is all of the beautiful, well-established crepe myrtle trees. If you will remember from one of my previous videos where we talked about pruning crepe myrtle trees, we talked about crepe murder and how it's really not a good thing for the crepe myrtle tree to whack it off and make stubs out of the branches. This is an example of what happens when you properly prune and maintain crepe myrtles and how beautiful and majestic and large they can become. Next up, we're here in the Daylily Garden at Gibbs. This is a very impressive daylily display. There are literally thousands and thousands of varieties of daylilies planted here. This once was a cow field, and when Jim Gibbs bought this property, he saw the potential here with the amounts of sunlight that this area received to plant one of his loves, which was daylilies, and he has done that incredibly here. He has also used the crepe myrtle again as an anchor planting and put daylilies in foundationally around them just to provide some depth and weight to this garden, which is truly beautiful. This is one of the best daylily displays that I have ever come across, and it is worth coming here to see all the different varieties that This behind me, the crepe myrtles have been used to form a pathway. In horticultural terms, this is called an alley. So Mr. Gibbs created this alley through the Daylily Garden here where we're currently walking through. And it just really creates sort of a mysterious destination. It draws you down. There's a slight curve into the pathway, and it's just one of those landscaping features that just sucks you in and makes you want to walk a path. Really interesting. He has these several places throughout the gardens, and I absolutely love them. And so this is an interesting way to use your landscaping plants to create interest in your garden. I'm going to flip the camera around and let's walk through it and just see what we find. Here we are in the Japanese garden at Gibbs, and it is equally as impressive as anything else here in the garden. Now in the heat of July, it is a beautiful shady spot full of landscaping, architectural interest including statues and seating structures and pavilions and tea houses and bridges that all steal the show, framed by a dramatic landscape of greens and reds. In the fall, however, hundreds and thousands of Japanese maples turn to their full color and is one of the most outstanding fall displays in the country. Definitely worth a visit to see this garden both in summer and in fall. we are in the middle of the grandchildren's sculpture garden. To me, one of the sweetest gardens on the property, and quite honestly a heartbeat of the gardens. And it's one of the things that actually shows that this is a privately owned garden and not a public garden. Each one of these statues was specifically created to represent one of the Gibbs's actual grandchildren. So each statue is a representation of each one of their grandchildren placed throughout this garden. We'll walk through each one. Well, I think that's gonna wrap us up here today at Gibbs Gardens. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it has inspired you, given you ideas for things you can do at home in your gardens. And I hope if you're anywhere near the Georgia area, you'll come and check this place out. It is absolutely amazing. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Join us on our journey by subscribing to our channel. We would love to have you follow us. But until next time, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.